It wasn't pretty, but a win is a win, and that's exactly what the Red Raiders got in Lawrence, 16-13, upsetting the number 16 team in the country in the Kansas Jayhawks. And listen, there's a lot of questions that need to be addressed, but at the end of the day, the Texas Tech Red Raiders still have a solid chance to be bowl eligible. Hey, how's it going, everybody? It's RC Maxfield here for the Back to 12 podcast. And if you were excited about this Texas Tech win, because again, just like I said, not all of them are pretty, and this one sure wasn't, but a win is a win, and the Red Raiders are back to 500 and have a solid chance at bowl eligibility. All I'm asking you to do is simply like the video. And listen, again, I'm asking about bowl eligibility and everything like that. I'll ask you a question here later, but let's jump into the nitty-gritty of this one as I put the stats down below on the screen for you. Behren Morton was 19 of 25 in this one. No touchdown passes, one interception with 176 yards receiving. Tahj led the way and had the lone touchdown for the Red Raiders in this game. Had another one called back due to a holding call in the first half, but had 33 carries, 133 yards, one touchdown, and average 4 yards a carry. We'll talk about the reason why here in just a second. As for the receiving side of things for Texas Tech, Jerand led the way with 4 catches in 91 yards. Now, on the defensive side, CJ Baskerville, if you remember, switched from the star position back to the boundary safety position. Him and Tyler Owens switched, and Tyler Owens was actually carted back to the locker room late in this game, right before Gino Garcia hit what was the game-winning field goal. So we'll have an update later in the week on Tyler Owens' health, and Texas Tech definitely needs him at the star position. But CJ Baskerville at the boundary safety led the way with 11 tackles, 10 of them solo. Next tackler on the leaderboard for the Red Raiders was Ben Roberts, and then Jalen Hutchins at 8, who also had a sack and a half in this one and a pass breakup as well. I talked to you about, will Texas Tech make a bowl game? I'm going to ask you right now just a simple one-letter answer for you. Y for yes or N for no. Will Texas Tech make a bowl game this year? The next game's the biggest one, right? You're at 500. You're 4-3 in conference play. You get UCF on senior night. You got the baseball reunion coming back. You got a World Series champion in attendance in Josh Young, right? Can you secure bowl eligibility for the second straight year under Joey McGuire? Do you think Texas Tech does it? A simple Y for yes or N for no. All right, let's kind of look at this drive, right, in terms of the drive that I think really stands out to me for Texas Tech in the sense of what Joey McGuire did, okay? Texas Tech held Kansas to a field goal, right, to tie the game at 13-13. You had about 30 seconds left on the clock. You fair catch it, you go down and get a field goal to win the game, right? But I think one of the plays that is really not being talked about a lot is the fact that Joey McGuire called a timeout on that third down play for the Jayhawks. And why is that so significant? Well, obviously hindsight is 20/20, right? But it allowed Texas Tech to have 2 timeouts remaining, which they desperately needed, but also had 30 seconds left to go down the field and give Behren Morton opportunities to actually push down the middle of the field and know that, hey, we still have some time to potentially get in field goal range, right? He throws one to Miles Price across the middle. You got Koy Aiken to start off the drive, and then obviously everybody's going to remember that Jerand Bradley catch on the sideline where he just absolutely went up and got it. Some people are going to say it was underthrown. I think Behren Morton actually did that on purpose because he saw that the corner was in front of Bradley, and Bradley really didn't have an opportunity to get in front of him. So I thought it was actually a really good underthrow, I guess, by Behren Morton on that play. But don't get it twisted. That timeout by Joey McGuire was absolutely critical in Texas Tech taking home an upset victory over the number 16 Kansas Jayhawks, a team that if they win today, they're firmly in the mix still to go play in Arlington, right? That's the kind of team you beat, and I get it. They had their third-string quarterback in there. You let them back in the game, this, that, and the other, right? A win is a win, and we'll talk about the ugliness of it here in just a second. But I want one more time, like the video if you were excited about Texas Tech upsetting number 16 Kansas. I can't say it enough. Call me a broken record. Call me out. I don't care. RC, stop repeating yourself. Whatever. Doesn't matter to me. A win is a win, even if it's ugly as shit. And that's exactly what Texas Tech got today in Lawrence, Kansas. All right, let's talk a little bit, though, about kind of that, what's the word here? Offensive display. I guess we'll go with that, okay? The display that this team had offensively in the second half. Let's start off with it. Here we go. Texas Tech in the second half, they punted. Then they kicked the field goal. There you go. And then field goal attempt that was missed. Brutal right there, but it is what it is. You're kicking into the wind. Then you punted, and then you got a field goal late to win the game. Right? Your offense was not good in the second half. Let's just call a spade, right? Your first drive, you had 11 yards. The next one, you had 8. So 19 total yards right there if you're Texas Tech. Then 41, right? If you add the 22 on the third drive. Then you've got 33. Quick math, 74 yards right there. Then you punt again, right? 18 yards on this one. So what are we looking at here? 92 total yards for Texas Tech going into that. Then you got 19 more yards on the drive before you had 63 on 4 plays, right? So we're talking about just over a little of 100 yards of total offense in the second half before you have a much-needed 4-play drive of 63 yards in 26 seconds to kick a field goal with 3 seconds remaining, or 7 seconds to get it down to 3 seconds, right? First and foremost, let's get out the negative here. Texas Tech played bad offensively. That's probably a nice way to say it, in the second half. The offensive line could not block in either facet of the game, whether they were trying to pass block or run block. They just couldn't. Give credit to Kansas for making an adjustment. You saw it early and often in the second half that they came up, and they may not have had 7 or 8 guys in the box, but eventually that's how many guys were going downhill towards Tahj Brooks, right? So you give credit to the Jayhawks there. I really do think, though, when you go back and watch this game, it is abundantly clear, to me at least, Behren Morton's not 100%. So I wonder how much that impacted some of the potential play calling that Zach Kittley had in the second half. Again, a lot of it wasn't good. They were running into awful fronts, and the offensive line did Tahj absolutely no favors, and you saw him get frustrated late in the fourth quarter when he was patient. He thought he had a hole, and then all of a sudden the offensive lineman just lost his block, right? There were multiple times that happened for Texas Tech. But at the end of the day, you went down, and Behren Morton had a couple of absolute great throws on the final drive, and you win a football game where you were the underdog by 3.5 points. That was the closing line. You go in there, and I don't even care that you faced a third-string quarterback that was in his first real college action, right? I believe he's the GM's son of the Colts, like the Colts GM. Wow. Anyway, doesn't really matter on that front. A win is a win, and that's what Texas Tech needed, right? Now you have a legit chance, as I mentioned earlier, to be bowl eligible. And why is that so important? First and foremost, going to a bowl game is big, right? Just simple and plain. Players love to do it. They get another game to play. But for me, the biggest aspect for the position Texas Tech is in for this game is now if you beat UCF, right, you have bowl eligibility and you get 18 more practices. That is huge for the developmental process of some of the guys that Texas Tech has on their roster right now that will be asked to do a lot next year when a lot of these older guys leave, right? You got Jalen Hutchins leaving. You got Tony Bradford leaving. You got Rabbit leaving. Tyler Owens, right? Like, you got a lot of guys on defense, not to mention on the offensive line. You got a lot of guys potentially leaving in rusty stats. You got Dennis Wilburn leaving. You've also got Cole Spencer leaving. Maybe Tahj Brooks leaves as well, right? Like, you have a lot of guys potentially leaving. So those 18 practices are going to be critical for the development of the Texas Tech Red Raiders and their potential fortunes in 2024. Speaking of the potential fortunes of the Red Raiders in 2024, how about this, boys? Jacob Harris coming in clutch for us right here. Breaking news, according to Jacob Harris of Inside the Red Raiders. Texas Tech commit and 5-star wide receiver Micah Hudson tells TTU 24/7 that he plans to sign with the Red Raiders in December and to be an early enrollee. Obviously, big-time news for the program that just won its first game over a ranked opponent this season. Shout out to Jacob. Me and him go back to our Guns Up Nation days. Congrats to him on breaking that news and getting that scoop. If you were excited about Texas Tech, not only beating Kansas, but for the fact that they've got Micah Hudson coming to campus here in just a couple of weeks, people. Once he signs that dotted line, you know what to do. Like the video. I'm excited. You should be excited. Listen, again, an ugly win. Not a lot of things went right for Texas Tech in the second half, but good teams overcome that. And listen, I don't care if there was a banana playing quarterback for the other team. Texas Tech desperately needed that win, and they got it over number 16 Kansas in Lawrence. I'm RC Maxfield, reminding you one more time, simply like the video, hit that subscribe button, and while you're at it, you might as well hit that notification bell to stay in the know on everything Texas Tech football all year round right here on the most engaging Texas Tech YouTube channel. Of course, talk about the Back to 12 podcast channel.